Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro. It's time for updated Oscar predictions for August of 2021. At this point in the year, there is still nothing that we can really call a lock. There will be plenty of people who say like, oh, of course it's getting nominated. They think they know what's happening. We don't know what's happening, folks, at all.
This is the point in the year where what we see happening is we know what the films are that are trying to get awards. So we're really looking heavily at those films because it sort of becomes clear which ones are trying to hit the festivals, and often the ones who hit the festivals go on to be awards players. We have a lot of movies that dropped out, and that just fled to next year.
Next Goal wins. Deja vu to last year, it is pushed again. They are probably honestly trying to figure out if they need to do reshoots to get Armie Hammer out of the movie. That's actually probably what they might be doing. That's not a confirmation. Red, White, and Water is like not happening. They announced that they were doing some reshoots on that. It's not gonna be quite done.
Andrew Dominique's Blonde with Ana de Armas, who we had at like #1 in the beginning of the year.
And last year.
Next year, apparently, it was too insane and too sexual and graphic for Netflix.
They were thinking about getting it in Venice, and then Netflix saw the film, according to some reports, and they were like, I don't know if we can work with this, buddy. And so they're trying to work it out. And Andrew Dominique is basically fighting for
and when that comes back, when it comes back next year, not Best Picture, but that doesn't mean it couldn't be a Jackie or Ana de Armas.
David O. Russell movie. Next year, that's a big one. I don't know if this had anything to do with it, but they are probably scrambling to figure out what to do about the fact that David O. Russell, if we get his name in the spotlight, it's not going to look good for him. The Whale, also pushed back, also pushed to next year. That happened like all over the course of a month, so it's kind of nuts. But now we've narrowed down a little bit, haven't we? And #1 for Best Picture right now, I have changed it to Power of the Dog. Why did I change it? Why did I change it?
Why did you change it?
I changed it because this movie is looking like the major festival hitter of the year. Venice, TIFF, Telluride, New York Film Festival. Nomadland was the big festival darling last year, wasn't it? We got 3 actors who seem like they could be very competitive in their categories. We have a score from Johnny Greenwood. It's a period thing. We got a first image that looks pretty promising.
We have Jane Campion, who, if the film were really good or were a frontrunner, she would probably win Best Director along with it.
And also, when we're looking for the Best Picture frontrunner right now, you look at the last decade and even further back beyond that, every Best Picture winner is a fall festival movie. All of them. And even when it gets close, The Revenant was close, Boyhood was close, 1917, Big Short even were close. They didn't get it. They weren't fall festival movies. So I'm thinking, let's pick one out of that batch. And which one seems like it's the darling? It's the Power of the Dog in a way.
You know, maybe if you had to pick a December movie or a later release not doing festivals, perhaps you would say that would be Nightmare Alley.
Well, Nightmare Alley has always been the movie that seems almost the most likely to get nominated. Soggy Bottom and House of Gucci are kind of the same. I don't think those movies were ready for the festivals, but we do have buzz that they are coming out. I mean, obviously House of Gucci is definitely coming out.
I also just think it's going to take a lot for a PTA film to win Best Picture, considering like what he's been doing lately.
Well,
getting nominated, sure, but like winning, he doesn't make Oscar bait.
Yeah, we have no idea what this movie is going to feel like. But we all know that PTA needs an Oscar.
House of Gucci, too, I don't think that would win Best Picture. I think that is too not critically acclaimed enough, I think.
Yeah, I think it's
I think it'll get nominated, but not everybody's going to love that movie.
Dune has a little bit of an upward climb. Action, like big epic movies rarely get nominated anymore. Is it going to really live up? Is it really going to live up that fucking well?
Some people are gonna think so. I mean, it depends if it has like a array of opinions on it, but some people are gonna go nuts no matter what.
It is also going for a couple of festival premieres. Warner Brothers did that strategy with Joker. Worked pretty well. Tragedy of Macbeth gonna open New York Film Festival.
It could be one of the less accessible, like more art housey films in this lineup if it did happen.
Yeah, but how can you deny Joel Coen, Frances McDormand, and Denzel Washington?
You can't really deny it, but
and Black and White.
And I wouldn't be that confident in the Macbeth adaptation. I know that it's like a Shakespeare adaptation, but if you think about it, like Shakespeare adaptations aren't really Oscar bait. It just could be like very odd. It's also in black and white.
I agree. West Side Story could just be like very pleasing for the Oscar voter type.
It's one of the more safe films here. And then Don't Look Up, We just got a Super Bowl teaser or whatever. It's not the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is not. I don't even know. The Olympics teaser. We give like a Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood like comedy level performance.
Being crazy.
And I like the taste that I got of that movie. That's all I'm going to say. I like it. I really just thought, oh, this is going to be hilarious. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to be disgusted by how it reflects the state of the world. So despite people's reactions to the screenplay saying it's going to be heavy-handed, all of his films have been that way. They've still succeeded, and this one might be no exception. We're kind of turning the current corner around this one.
Yeah, we tried to deny it, but after seeing the teaser and hearing a couple early bird reactions saying like, yeah, this is good, this lives up, I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't feel like denying this one anymore. I really don't.
It would have to be pretty bad for you to deny a Best Picture for a movie with that cast.
Yeah. Last Night in Soho makes it into the top 10. I think you're a little more confident about this than I am.
I am, and here's why. When I look at the Fall Festival lineup, it looks like one of the best movies there. So if it's one of the best movies at the Toronto Festival, what are you going to do with that? And it has elements like cinematography that people might just eat the fuck up.
Yeah, it looks very technically well crafted.
And people might have really good will for Edgar Wright to get an Oscar nomination somewhere for this film, if it is indeed very good.
There's room for him in screenplay, I will say.
Oh, at least screenplay, yeah.
Also, we're going to Toronto, by the way. We're going to be there in person for the whole festival, so we're going to catch all those fun movies and do some more reviews for you. Tick, Tick, Boom. How did this happen? Okay, so the trailer comes out. I think it looks pretty good. I think it's got a nice kind of psychological drama twist on it, struggling artist thing. It's also just been getting buzz. Like people are saying like, oh, you got to watch out. Netflix is looking at this one. This is one of their top 3 priorities is what they're saying. That's the buzz.
Yeah, that's really the reason that you have confidence in this film. I actually think this looks like a good movie. I was really happy with the trailer overall. And then The Humans, which is becoming maybe one of my most anticipated this year, just because of the cast, Richard Jenkins and Steven Yeun possibly delivering some really interesting performances. Richard Jenkins has a lot of Oscar buzz. We'll get to that later. But this film could be one of those festival hits, and it's A24, and it could be their biggest horse this year.
Aside from Macbeth, which is also Apple TV.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, how can A24 juggle multiple horses? I'm not an expert, but let's say hypothetically...
But you are the expert.
Okay, fine, I am an expert. Let's say Apple TV handles the money given to the tragedy of Macbeth, and A24 can pump some into The Humans. I feel like that could be a good deal for them. It gives the father vibes where the playwright is adapting their own play and taking on the role as director, which resulted in a very faithful and well done adaptation.
And if you have a couple performances and a screenplay, you are not far off. Is it guaranteed to be good because it's based on a play? Maybe it is just guaranteed to be good.
An acclaimed play. Mass is another one that's going for the same kind of nominations. It's going for supporting actor nominations and screenplay, and then we'll have to see if from there it can get into picture.
I do kind of wish that Mass hit up the festivals, and they're not really knocking on any doors, are they?
True, they didn't announce anything yet.
All they did was announce that everyone's supporting. Mass is another one where if it's getting into those acting and screenplay, then like, you know, you're not far off.
But I could see it being absent anyway, just because it's a really tough movie.
I think it'll get one nomination, definitely in supporting actress for somebody. Very worthy of that. And then Coda, also not a film that's gunning for fall festivals, despite a really good Sundance turnout where they want to push it for awards.
Yeah, it's coming out in like 2 weeks.
It's a really weird release strategy, but I wouldn't rule it out for that. I would never rule it out because of a release strategy. I mean, weirder things have happened. Like Hell or High Water came out in the middle of the summer, didn't even try, and it got like a bunch of nominations.
You know, Coda really does have a wide appeal, and it can jerk anyone's tears really hard. The August release date is weird because you can see this movie playing so well at Toronto, and they're kind of skipping out on that for some reason. Belfast is one that was one of the first announced for TIFF, and it is going to be in black and white. It is said to be a personal story, a coming-of-age film from Kenneth Branagh, whose output from the last decade or so will give many reason to say, why would this movie be on your Oscar list? I don't know, just look at any of those movies that he's done. They're not trying for awards in the way that this movie is.
This is another one that I really have my eye out for as an awards hopeful from the festivals.
Being the Ricardos, this is one of Amazon's only contenders that I can see so far. So they could put like all their chips in on this movie.
This one's awards bait too.
Yeah.
Like it's awards bait, so why do you have it so low?
It's another Aaron Sorkin. It's got Nicole Kidman.
I will ask, why do you have that low then?
Because it just seems kind of weird.
Seems like it could be bad.
I don't know if it would be bad, but like...
yeah, you still don't know what to do with it yet. But it could come up. It could pop up.
It could,
yeah. Depends on like, I put a trailer and all that.
I squeezed it in there at 15. It's going to actually take a little while for us to know what's happening, too. So I'm okay just kind of leaving it here.
No, I think if it's 15, that's pretty solid.
In the Heights. Box office, no look good. Didn't become the sensation we thought it would be.
It didn't live up to being a complete box office success. But it doesn't mean that not a lot of people came out to see it, and still more people went out to see In the Heights than probably like an average indie film.
Yeah, there are going to be plenty of movies this year that make less money than In the Heights at the box office. So
I still think that at the end of the year, you know, when everything slims down, because it will, In the Heights could still pop back up. My thing is, I don't know if they'd get an awards push because they weren't able to make enough profit for that.
Also, if Dune is a really big, easy push for Warner Brothers, they might just not bother with In the Heights.
I honestly could also see it being, when we slim down the contenders, people calling out saying there's a lack of diverse Best Picture nominees here. And In the Heights
looking like that.
Actually maybe getting a little bit of steam from that. I don't know how much that would influence In the Heights' campaign in a positive way. I will say again that I think In the Heights is worthy of a Best Picture nomination.
Last Duel. The trailer actually looks kind of good. And apparently there's some sort of Rashomon type plot where they give each character a different perspective. And it makes me think that the movie might be a little more than just your typical battle thing. It's going for a little bit of like a Me Too thing. At the same time, I'm not convinced that this is going to get everybody saying Ridley Scott, Matt Damon, and Ben Affleck have come with a great Me Too message for our generation.
If the movie's really good, I don't know if people would care that much.
If
like,
it's
if people
really
are loving
good,
the movie, then they might not need to pull out that card of like, oh, well, it's being told by like 3 white men. Jodie Comer, I am really looking out for. She seems to be the lead. She seems like she's going to be doing a lot. And that made me think, okay, Last Duel actually might have something for Best Picture. If they can get an actor in there in a medieval film.
There has still not really been a peep about A Journal for Jordan, but it is going for a Christmas type release. So it might be one that we don't know about for a while. Denzel Washington's directing. Michael B. Jordan's in it.
King Richard had a trailer drop, and we saw Will Smith in the film. He was having a lot of buzz, as you know, maybe this is his year, and there still is buzz for him. I thought the trailer was maybe a tiny bit underwhelming in terms of like what we were seeing from his performance, just his more soft-spokenness and the kind of like off accent. But I have kind of warmed up to that. I do think he looks really good in it. If he is going to win, let's just throw it out there. We have not seen a Best Actor winner be in a film that wasn't nominated for Best Picture
since Crazy Heart
in a long ass time. But the film overall doesn't look like completely knock off your socks, though it could be a crowd-pleasing film.
Seems like The Blind Side in a way. Like, it's not going to be the critics' favorite movie, but if audiences love it and they cry, and then Will Smith...
I think it looks like a good movie, and I am kind of excited for it.
Then we got Spencer at 20. Spencer is going to Venice. We know that for sure. Kristen Stewart could get a lot of buzz for this. But again, you know, it is Pablo Larraín. He directed Jackie. He's not your typical awards bait director, which also means that we might have something very interesting in store for this movie. So I'm very excited. The Worst Person in the World, I think maybe this is the movie from Cannes that is the best shot at getting some Oscar buzz. Maybe I'm a little biased because it was my favorite, but it seems to be a lot of people's favorites, more so than A Hero, and also the screenplay is so goddamn good. It could get in there, it could get into international feature and work its way up. That's not a likely path, but it is a path I don't think is impossible. I wouldn't dismiss it. Everybody came out of The French Dispatch thinking, yeah, that's like a 7 or an 8 out of 10. It wasn't Budapesting people. They weren't blown away in that way. Visually, the movie is absolutely mind-blowing. Easily something that'll get a few nominations below the line. Come On, Come On could get into the race as a screenplay contender potentially, and Joaquin Phoenix could be a Best Actor contender. The Hand of God has some pundits saying, watch out for this one, hearing that maybe Netflix is pretty confident in it. It's going to Venice, and Paolo Sorrentino seems like a decent candidate if we're looking for that international director nomination.
And The Great Beauty is an excellent film that everyone should watch.
And then there's A Hero, which I don't quite buy as the Oscar Ferrati Oscar contender that I maybe wanted it to be. It is a very good movie. We'll see if it can get into screenplay or something. Flea could be one of Neon's bigger movies, maybe. I don't know if they're gonna really push it or how much they think that they can do with it, but it does have a very timely political message. It could nail an animated documentary and an international feature nomination. That would be unprecedented.
But even still, the climb up from Best Picture is just very steep. I mean, they've never nominated a documentary ever. I do love this movie. Like, I think it is really great. It might be one of the very best of the year.
Another international contender, Madres Paraleles. We didn't have this one on our list last time, but it's confirmed Pedro Almodovar has a movie coming. It's hitting Venice. It's hitting New York Film Festival, and it has Penelope Cruz in the lead role. The trailer looked good, but it wasn't blowing me away. It wasn't like, oh shit, Almodovar is like doing this. It's like, yeah, that's what Pedro Almodovar does. I don't know if it's going to be like as big as Pain and Glory or Voltaire. Those were able to get lead acting nominations. The Survivor does not actually have a distributor yet. It might be not the best movie, but it is going to TIFF. Ben Foster's in the lead role, and it's very Oscar baity if you look at what it's about. The Harder They Fall, really good trailer actually. It looks like a really cool Western. Very fun. I don't know if it's anything more than that. It might just be a fun Western, which is totally fine. The Lost Daughter, going to Venice. Olivia Colman's in it. Maybe she can get some buzz for Best Actress. And Maggie Gyllenhaal is directing. It's got a really solid cast overall. You know, we're going to cut it off there at 30, I think. That's a good 30. Director, Jane Campion, Power of the Dog. This comes from just, if this is a Best Picture winner, I feel like it could go along with a director win. Del Toro seems very likely to be nominated. I mean, that movie's going to hit up a lot of categories. Could be the kind that gets 10 nominations. If Dune is an Oscar contender, how could you not nominate Villeneuve? Maybe he could be in the winning conversation just because that is like the most ambitious project this year.
We got Joel Cohen for The Tragedy of Macbeth, kind of self-explanatory. Don't really know what else you want there. It's in black and white and it's going to be directing actors shit. Paul Thomas Anderson, I mean, the director's branch took him for Phantom Thread, which no one thought was going to happen. So if this film is even a smidge more accessible, like, why not?
It does seem like it is. I mean, we're getting a very outrageous
it does seem like it is.
Bradley Cooper performance that seems funny, and it's a coming-of-age story set in Hollywood in the 70s.
I would have Edgar Wright in here because I just feel like Last Night in Soho is going to be a thing.
But he's number 6.
And
this is close.
And I want the goodwill. I don't know who I would take out, though. This is a pretty stacked top 5.
Adam McKay always gets nominated along with his movies. That's been the trend so far. Would not be surprised at all if he got in once again. Spielberg,
he doesn't need to be nominated anymore.
Does not get nominated for all of his movies, actually.
Especially director's branch might not go for him considering they like the more daring stuff.
They haven't gone with him since Lincoln. And in that time, Adam McKay has been nominated twice, hasn't he? Lin-Manuel Miranda, Tick, Tick, Boom, could definitely shoot up as a director contender should the movie be big. Ridley Scott, House of Gucci. This is like disproportionately low for where it is in picture. And that makes great sense because the movie's probably not going to be the critics' favorite and the directors go for more high-brow stuff.
I mean, the trailer looked a little bit bland. I mean, he didn't even get nominated for The Martian.
Sorrentino, The Hand of God.
Now we had to start thinking about international filmmakers. And, you know, he is definitely a contender. You know, we have to see the movie, but he's established enough. Could happen.
Worst person in the world, I think the reason it's lower than Hand of God is it's very like millennial, later in life, coming of age kind of story. Maybe we'll see it contend more on the screenplay side, but still a possibility if it becomes big. Ferrati for a Hero, a lot of people think this is going to happen. I'm perhaps a little less confident than they are. But even if he got nominated for this, I'd be like, hey, like, hell yeah, Ferrati and director. Like, I would just like to see it no matter what. I put Julia Ducournau at the very bottom of the list, only because the Palm win is making people chirp a little about it. Like, oh, you could nominate an international director with this movie, which is very weird. But it's just such a weird movie. I am being told that it's not impossible.
What did you just point to? Is this someone in your head, buddy?
Yeah, that's who's telling me.
Wow. The real Oscar expert is someone who lives in your head.
It's the expert within.
You're just, the stands are going to go wild. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't know about
the stands are going to go wild.
I have Lady Gaga at 1, and part of it's because I had to delete Ana de Armas from the list. I don't know that this is like a winning performance because I also feel like there's no way she's going to win for doing that dumb accent. I know it's like, maybe it's supposed to be dumb. But there's no way she's going to win.
Yeah, I have no problem with any of her choices in this film, but that'd be interesting. That's all I would say. I do think Jessica Chastain could win for Tammy Faye.
Yes, for a movie it's not even going to be remotely a Best Picture contender.
It's going to be an absolute showcase for her, Cole. She's overdue for an Oscar, so I would get her at number 2 because you know Frances McDormand, she's not winning.
Okay, but Frances McDormand is definitely getting nominated.
I don't even part of me says like no, she's not definitely getting
part of
nominated.
Me says yes.
Lady Macbeth isn't even like as much of a lead as
they're gonna make it that way though. You bet your ass they're gonna make it that way.
Look, she will probably get nominated, but because she won't win,
Justin. Kristen Stewart and Spencer has shot up a considerable amount. I can see her being a potential actress winner at Venice, and then people going, oh my god. Like, is she not going to be really good? This is Pablo Larraín we're talking about here. This is
the
not an
makeup's
Oscar
fantastic from the one image that I've seen.
Jennifer Hudson in Respect. This movie's premiering very, very soon. I expect the movie's going to be fine. It's begging for you to give it a 6 out of 10. Jennifer Hudson's going to get a lot of praise. I don't think she's going to be like the critics' darling for this movie. Audiences will probably be very won over by her singing and just, she's Aretha Franklin. They love that. Musical biopics are big actor showcases. So.
She's going to do a really good job, though. Yeah. I have no doubt about that. And even if the movie is okay, that's enough.
Crowd favorite.
Look at the United States vs. Billie Holiday. It doesn't even have to be good.
Yeah. You could know nothing about the Oscars, but that trailer comes on in the theater and you're like, she's gonna get nominated for, like, it's, you just know it.
Yeah, you could be an absolute plebe and you'd be like, oh, so she's getting nominated this year.
Nicole Kidman and Being the Ricardos, almost difficult to deny. She's transforming into Lucille Ball for the Aaron Sorkin biopic.
This is like that one movie that you're like, I don't know what to do with it, so it's just not, I'm just not gonna put it in the top category because I just don't know what this is, and I'm not ready to like comprehend that this is gonna be a big awards player, because it could be. And the Kidman could be obvious.
We got Cate Blanchett and Nightmare Alley. This might be supporting. At the same time, is the studio really going to campaign Rooney Mara, Toni Collette, and Cate Blanchett in supporting? All of those roles are very meaty. This is undoubtedly a supporting role, though, so I don't know what to say. I moved up Rachel Zegler pretty high. I actually asked you, the audience, last time, why would Rachel Zegler be nominated for this if Natalie Wood didn't even get nominated for the original? And you all said, because Natalie Wood got nominated for something else. And I went, oh, good point. Like, literally just, you shut me right up. Natalie Wood would have been nominated for West Side Story if she wasn't in contention for the other movie. That's pretty clear. Rachel Zegler's a newcomer, but she's probably gonna kind of blow people away in this, I think. Jodie Comer in The Last Duel.
I do think she will go lead because I think it's very clear that the movie is about her.
Yeah, but if the movie didn't have a huge shot overall, I could see them throwing her in supporting to try to get her a nomination.
I feel like she could get nominated for this pretty easily, actually.
Olivia Colman, The Lost Daughter. Also somebody who maybe could take that Best Actress Venice prize. It's a very emotional, heavy role. And Olivia Colman is just always great and always killing it. I had to get her in the top 10. It might seem a little low even. I mean, she could shoot up for sure. Penelope Cruz in Madres Paraleles. I'm not quite convinced from the trailer that this is like a huge showcase for her. Jennifer Lawrence, Don't Look Up. I don't think she goes along with the movie. Even early buzz.
You heard something.
Even early buzz, someone was like, yeah, I think the biggest contenders here are like DiCaprio, Meryl Streep, and like someone supporting. And they didn't mention Jennifer Lawrence. And I was like, huh.
DiCaprio shot up a lot for me, though.
Well, you'll see.
You better put him in your top 5.
You'll see, won't you? Catriona Balfe in Belfast is playing the mother. The main character is going to be a boy. So she could be supporting maybe. But maybe they'll hillbilly elegy campaign her and lead just like they did with Amy Adams. I do think she's going to be getting a lot of praise for this performance, though. I definitely see that. Renate Reinsve in The Worst Person in the World. She won the Best Actress prize at Cannes. I don't want to overestimate what that means because obviously there's not a huge correlation between that and the Oscars. But in the best case scenario where Worst Person in the World is like actually somehow has become a big contender, then she's still a maybe, but maybe. Best Actor. I don't know who to put at number 1. Here, honestly. I'm
fine with leaving Will Smith at number 1 for now. I mean, there's so much goodwill towards him. If he gives a nomination-worthy performance, you could see him win.
At the same time, Benedict Cumberbatch in Power of the Dog, I think he's going to be ferociously good. I think that's what people are going to say after the movie. They're going to be like, whoa, shit.
He was really good in Imitation Game.
I know. And he's like also just a very popular guy as well in MCU and everything. We have Denzel Washington in Macbeth. Not out of the question that Denzel could go for a third. He's up there.
He almost got a third for Fences. Like, people have already talked about it and they already think, yeah, that could happen.
Bradley Cooper in Nightmare Alley, I think some people seem like they're trying to deny this and say, oh, Nightmare Alley is going to happen, but Bradley Cooper is not going to happen in lead. I don't agree with that. I think Bradley Cooper goes along. That character descends into madness, and that's like the performance in that movie. So I feel like it would go along with the story in general that he gets nominated. And Bradley Cooper's been nominated 4 times, so I don't know what else to say.
DiCaprio skyrockets up after that teaser in Don't Look Up because He seems like he's being hilarious. And you know what he does really well? We've discovered since The Wolf of Wall Street, and now everybody uses him for this, is just that he's fucking hilarious. But he's also like, he plays it real at the same time. I've already seen enough to be like, yeah, that's top 5 for me.
Yeah, there's also going to be a lot of juicy improv in the movie. Can't wait for Jonah Hill improv. Jonah Hill improv is insane.
I am looking forward to Don't Look Up. McKay does different shit. He's not just doing the same thing everybody else is doing. I like that he just stopped caring and he's like, no, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to like shove it down your throat. And like, I'll like let him do it. It's okay. He can go and like shove all the actors down my throat. And I'm like, I'll still take it.
We got Joaquin Phoenix and Come On, Come On. He could be like the big piece of that movie. He could get some Best Actor hype even if the movie's nowhere else for this.
You can wait for a trailer on that one.
We got Adam Driver and House of Gucci. People are more convinced of this than I am because it is clear that Adam Driver's having a year. Annette, Last Duel, House of Gucci. It might happen for him in House of Gucci. I just think these other performances seem a little bit, I don't know, bigger, grander. And then Andrew Garfield in Tick, Tick, Boom. I do think that if Tick, Tick, Boom ends up being a big contender, Andrew Garfield easily goes along with that. Just like in Hacksaw Ridge. Michael B. Jordan is someone who people are eyeing to get a first Oscar nomination, so that could happen for it. It's going to be a big, juicy role for him. Peter Dinklage in Cyrano. Dinklage already played this role on the stage, and everybody, you know, in all the reviews, they said that he absolutely killed it. Some of the reviews for the play itself were a little mixed, but it's going to be a Dinklage show, and I could see that translating to some serious Best Actor buzz for him.
Yeah, if people love him and they see him in the role going, oh, is he vying for an Oscar? Like, I want to help the guy out. I love him in Game of Thrones.
Ben Foster in The Survivor. Survivor might not be the best movie of the year, but how is Ben Foster not going to be amazing in it? And he's been great in everything we've seen him in so far, so I guess watch out for that. Javier Bardem being the Ricardos seems like a weird casting decision to me. I don't know how this is going to turn out, really.
Yeah, I wouldn't put much stock into that.
Nicolas Cage in Pig. Could Neon launch a little bit of a Best Actor campaign for him? You know, I could see him ending up, the critics groups are starting to nominate him, and then people go, oh, maybe he should get on my top 10.
Would love to see it, but that's wishful thinking.
It is wishful thinking. I feel like everything else on my list just barely has a shot. Yeah. At number 1 for supporting actress, we have Kirsten Dunst in The Power of the Dog. This is not confirmed that she is in supporting, but based on what people who have read the book say, they say that this is probably a supporting performance. Maybe she gets upgraded a little bit and she becomes sort of a lead. That's also very possible. But if she's in supporting, it seems like she could be in the winning conversation because it's going to be a very big, very meaty role for her. It seems almost bound to be her first Oscar nomination, honestly. And Dowd in Mass. This is happening. People know that the buzz is real. Gold Derby knows it. Everyone knows it. Now that Martha Plimpton's here, it's a little unfortunate because if the studio really wants to campaign hard on getting somebody nominated and they don't feel confident in both of them, Martha Plimpton could be a little bit pushed to the side to make way for Ann Dowd, who's a little more well-known.
But I also don't think it makes any sense to nominate Ann Dowd and not Martha Plimpton.
I also really just wish Martha Plimpton was in lead. All the performances in Mass are absolutely, like, gargantuan. Marlee Matlin in Coda. She is, you know, everywhere for this movie.
She's like the face of the movie at this point.
Yeah. Easily a performance that would be worthy of the nomination, too. Ariana DeBose, West Side Story, seems like a pretty likely nomination for the movie. The movie would have to tank pretty hard for her not to get in, I think. Just considering the role she's playing and the last actress to play it won an Oscar. At 5 is Jane Houdyshell in The Humans. She won a Tony for playing the same role on Broadway. Even Gold Derby seems to know that this is a thing.
You got Anya Taylor-Joy in The Last Night in Soho. I mean, if anyone's getting nominated acting-wise, like, she would be it for that movie. And she's a very popular actress right now. Very, very popular. And if her lead-ish performance goes supporting, there could be a case for that, for sure. Martha Plimpton, sadly, just at 7. You know, it's sad because she needs to be in the top 5. Hopefully they recognize that both these performances are equally amazing. I think that this should get the favorite treatment. They should both get in.
It's just typically if 2 supporting actors get in the same category, usually that's a Best Picture nominee.
You could say usually. Sure, usually. I don't know.
Then we got 2 Nightmare Alley women. We got Toni Collette and Rooney Mara. I don't know which one of them is going to take the reins in this category if indeed Cate Blanchett doesn't join them here, but they both have very meaty roles and we need to look out for them. It's actually tough for me to even put them at 8 and 9 because I think that they could easily be top 5 players. Judi Dench in Belfast. She's playing Granny. She's playing Granny. what else is there to say? She's gonna have Glenn Close moments where she's bonding with the main character and crying and stuff. Like, come on.
Meryl Streep and Don't Look Up. Every year we talk about Meryl Streep somewhere. She's in an Adam McKay movie and she was in the trailer. Like,
she's the president. She's playing the president of the United States here. The question is probably screen time. If she has a decent amount of screen time, she can get nominated. Alexandra Shipp in Tick, Tick, Boom. Some people are like, oh, Vanessa Hudgens. But no. Look at who was winning the awards when this movie was performing on the stage. It was this role, not Vanessa Hudgens. That's all I have to say about that. Olga Meredith in The Heights.
She definitely can't get in without the movie. And even if the movie got in at this point, I could see the movie getting in with like virtually no other nominations. She doesn't have to come along with it, in my opinion. Supporting actor. Number 1, we have Bradley Cooper in Soggy Bottom because we think he's going to be wacky in the film. And a wacky supporting Bradley Cooper performance is one that could win him an Oscar.
Especially if he's getting double nominated.
And it's a Paul Thomas Anderson film. I mean, when are actors like not at their peak game in Paul Thomas Anderson films? Jason Isaacs in Mask. Number 2. Wow. It's pretty high.
I mean, duh, right?
He's incredible. He's incredible. And the fact that they are campaigning him and supporting makes me think he must be nominated. You can't watch the film and think that he's not going to get nominated. So if they make everybody watch the movie, I'm going to assume
they make them.
He gets nominated. Could he win? That's my question.
I don't know. That's
maybe. The answer is maybe because you stuttered. Other performances with strong buzz. Jesse Plemons in Power of the Dog.
And everything he's done so far, he's been amazing. He's going to be in The Killers of the Flower Moon. He's going to become an actor that gets nominated from time to time. All right? And this is going to be his first nomination.
Richard Jenkins in The Humans has some really strong hype. I believe he's number 1 on Gold Derby. I would love to see it. I mean, everybody would love to see Richard Jenkins get an Oscar in supporting. I mean, that makes a lot of sense for his career.
It's his 3rd nomination. He's going to kill it in the role. He's going to kill it.
You should have him at number 3.
You think? Oh, well. I think that the top 4 are really, really strong. Yeah. Actually, no, the top 5.
Top 5.
Jared Leto and House of Gucci. You'll try to deny it. You will try and you will fail to deny this. When people are caked in makeup, it just happens.
I like kind of disagree with the whole thing of like, why couldn't you just cast a person who looks like that? Because it's fucking fun, okay? It's fun. And you know it. You know that it's fun.
At the same time, if Jared Leto is back in the spotlight, there's a chance that some of his questionable behavior comes back to bite him. Adam Driver in The Last Duel seems high for a movie that might not be that big of a contender, but
I think that's fair.
He does seem very good in it. He seems like he's going to have a good performance here. Corey Hawkins, Tragedy of Macbeth. I have learned that there is some very strong buzz for this performance. Some people thinking that he goes really high on the list, even Gold Derby. I guess it's that he's playing that character Macduff.
I'm kind of hungry right now. I wouldn't mind a Macduff.
Robin De Jesus in Tick, Tick, Boom. I'll say it again. If people think that it's going to be Bradley Whitford, maybe it is. I don't know. But look at who got the nominations for the stage. It was this role, okay?
Troy Kotzer in Coda was just as good as Marley Matlin, maybe even better. I mean, he has that one scene that is gonna like break you, and so he needs to be. Now, I think he needs to be nominated too, but alas, he is here at number 9 just because he is not as recognizable as his co-star. David Alvarez, West Side Story. Character won an Oscar in supporting actor for this movie way back when. So why don't you have it in their top 5?
But the buzz seems like it's probably going to be more behind Ariana DeBose and Rachel Zegler. I've heard that Rob Morgan might have one of the roles in Don't Look Up with the most potential to be nominated. It might be him or Mark Rylance in this movie, or maybe it's nobody because it's just such an ensemble piece. Richard Jenkins in Nightmare Alley. If he's getting all the buzz for The Humans, then this won't happen. Al Pacino, House of Gucci, he didn't really seem to hold a candle to Jared Leto's presence in that trailer, so I put him pretty low. Defoe in Nightmare Alley is just might be a smaller kind of role. Reed Birney, since Jason Isaacs came into this category, I think Reed Birney has really been pushed down because they will not nominate both of them, I think.
We could probably go quickly through the screenplay category. We've got Soggy Bottom at number 1. You know, that's kind of an overdue award, or an award we could give to PTA and be like, everyone's really happy about it. He get a standing ovation, etc. But then we have Edgar Wright for Last Night in Soho, and I think this seems like the classic film that's been winning original screenplay for the past 5 years, genre bending. We're giving it to the writer-director of a film. That's happened a lot in original screenplay. I would even potentially like put a wager on like either Paul Thomas Anderson or Edgar Wright wins the Oscar this year.
Betting that this early is
you literally can't bet on that, but I would put a wager on it. Adam McKay for Don't Look Up. I mean,
it'd be boring if he won again, but I feel like he could easily get another nomination.
You have Mass at number 4.
Why wouldn't I have Mass at 4?
No, that's great.
Hell of a
screenplay.
To see it.
I'm happy to see
screenplay.
It really is like excellently written.
We may not be able to
I mean, if it did get denied, I'd be very upset.
Belfast. That could maybe happen. Being the Ricardos, Aaron Sorkin. I mean, he gets nominated. He got nominated for Molly's Game even.
It's crazy that's at 6. Because again, you're like, just shush. You're like, no.
Come On could happen too, I think. Yeah. Worst person in the world is not too low here. Again, I think this is something that could happen. I'm really crossing my fingers for it.
The Last Duel actually makes sense in screenplay now that we know the plot and now that we know it's like a he said, she said, Rashomon type story. It's also interesting that Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and Nicole Holofcener wrote different perspectives in this film. And Nicole Holofcener is a really great screenwriter. So I think there's some potential here. I mean, The Last Duel, interestingly, you think it's like this tech player, so you're like, oh, maybe only those. But we're seeing it potentially for actress and supporting actor and screenplay, like viable contender.
French Dispatch, I just think that the movie's stronger visually than anything else, even though it does have some really like funny rapid fire dialogue in it. Adapted screenplay, The Power of the Dog. Of course you're going to see this here. I mean, it was #1 in picture for us. Nightmare Alley, House of Gucci, big best picture type of contenders. Then The Humans, I think, is gotta watch out for The Humans. It's based on a play that's big.
Yeah, I could see that being a screenplay winner, just like The Father.
Winner.
Sure.
And then there's Dune. A lot of times these massive technical movies don't get screenplay nominations like Gravity or Mad Max or The Revenant, but everybody kind of knows of Dune's origins as a novel. So I think if Dune is really successful, it could get an adapted screenplay nomination.
I'm more skeptical of that, but sure.
The Tragedy of Macbeth could be a little bit too straight from Shakespeare for them to want to nominate it. Tick, Tick, Boom could maybe happen. Sometimes they'll leave the musicals out of screenplay because they just think that songs don't count as writing.
Tick, Tick, Boom, though, that seems like it wouldn't just be all songs. Coda, nice movie with a nice screenplay.
For cinematography, we got a lot of really strong contenders here. I think Tragedy of Macbeth, I put it at #1 because it's black and white. It's Bruno Del Bonelli's been nominated 5 times. Okay, it's kind of time for him potentially, and the movie could be very like stylistically daring.
I see it being more of an indie film though, especially it's like A24 produced, so I don't think it's gonna be like necessarily a Mank.
Nightmare Alley is probably going to have Shape of Water type cinematography. It's the same.
That's going to be an amazing looking film.
I am personally not impressed by every shot in the Dune trailer. Some of them look magnificent, and other ones are like, yeah, this looks like anything else. But it seems like other people are like, every shot is blowing me away.
They kind of like to nominate those bigger budget films that get nominated for Best Picture, so it would probably just go along with it.
Greg Fraser does a desaturated look in a lot of his movies, and
yeah, a lot of natural lighting.
I don't know, it doesn't look as vibrant as Arrival or Blade Runner. French Dispatch, the color shots look fantastic, the black and white looks fantastic. I think that this is probably going to get nominated. It is kind of a beautiful looking movie. Power of the Dog, I'm putting this here because the image looks
It's a Western.
Good. It's a Western. It's going to have sunsets and landscapes. Also a female cinematographer. That could happen for the second time ever.
That's a good top 5, though you did leave out Last Night in Soho. Last Night in Soho, I mean, we saw from the trailer, there's some really interesting camera work in here, and we know Edgar Wright does some crazy shit with his camera.
And we're
probably going to see some long takes. If this film is the awards player that I want it to be, this would probably go along with it.
But West Side Story is also maybe a little difficult to deny too, because some of those shots in that trailer were pretty stunning. The reason I have The Green Knight so high, even though I don't think it has a shot in hell at Best Picture, everybody who's seen it is like, yeah, this is the best looking movie of the year. So how does that not translate to at least some critics awards giving it cinematography? Could it be The Lighthouse? I know The Lighthouse was in black and white, but could it...
If The Green Knight were in black and white, it would get nominated. Everybody knows this. It's kind of ridiculous how biased they are towards black and white, honestly.
Speaking of black and white, Belfast is here.
Just because of that.
Exactly.
We even had an Alexander Payne movie get nominated because it was in black and white.
That is true.
And I have nothing... I mean, I thought Nebraska was a very well shot movie for what it was, but there's no way they would have nominated that if it were in color. And then critics are always like writing in their review essays, like the grays in the film are just so rich and wide
and Tick Tick Boom. Same cinematographer of In the Heights. She was actually getting a little bit of buzz for In the Heights when that movie was peaking. It is no longer peaking. And despite Dariusz Wolski getting his first nomination last year for News of the World, based on both the trailers, his cinematography on Ridley Scott's films this year does not look as impressive. And look, come on, right at the bottom is black and white. Editing, House of Gucci's number 1. Why did I do this? Why did I do this?
Because it's gonna have a lot of characters to cut between. It's gonna be fast cutting.
Don't look up. I mean, Adam McKay is going to continue his style. That's been said about people
that will get nominated for editing.
Dune going to get nominated just as like another technical award. Maybe if it's very out for Best Picture, it doesn't get nominated, but
I think that will have thoughtful editing too. Nightmare Alley editing just because like that's a Best Picture movie. It's possibly a top contender with like 10 nominations.
Same with Power of the Dog. If I'm gonna have it winning, I gotta put it in editing. Then Last Night in Soho is probably gonna have some really interesting stylistic choices with editing. In all of Edgar Wright's movies, they have really good editing. So
Baby Driver, you should put that in there.
But for
you want to be right, buddy? You want to be right, or you want to not have it in?
But for what?
I can't House of Gucci. I don't know. Yeah, that movie might suck. You don't know. House of Gucci's not gonna win Best Editing. You fool.
What is?
Don't Look Up or Last Night in Soho.
Last Night in Soho will not win Best Editing. You fuck
bitch. Baby Driver.
It's not gonna time everything to the music like that.
All of his films use music like that.
I don't know what the fuck is winning. I feel stupid about House of Gucci at number 1.
Yeah, I feel like you're looking a little dumb there. What is winning or getting nominated for sound? That's what you need to consider here.
Oh, right. Dune?
Once again, Last Night in Soho.
Last Night in Soho's not going to win sound. Dune is. Then I'll put Dune at number 1 for editing.
Yeah, the musicals for editing, like, yes.
In the Heights also
could get nominated, and In the Heights.
In the Heights, if that was nominated for Best Picture, it would get editing, because it had a lot of it. Everything else is just kind of because Best Picture. Production design, French Dispatch, completely stunning work. Just every frame is like, you put so much effort into this. Like, this is nuts. Even more so than Budapest Hotel, and that says so fucking much.
But Nightmare Alley is going to be insane as well. But remember how the budget for Shape of Water was like nothing, and they did that with it? Dune, that will happen. I mean, it happened with Blade Runner. It wasn't even nominated for Best Picture.
Macbeth and West Side Story, strong Best Picture contenders. Also period films. And then Cruella is outside. I tried to have this at 5, but I wanted to put the other 2 in. Cruella, I think, could slip if there's other contenders. The Electrical Life of Louis Wayne, though, I am looking at, and I'm seeing that could be a movie that has some wacky sets and costumes, even though I'm not really sure it's gonna be the most Oscar-y biopic we get. I have The Green Knight on here just because I want it.
That's not gonna happen. Costume design, Cruella. Cruella should win, and it probably will win because the costumes were fucking insane, and there were like so many of them.
Even with the House of Gucci trailer coming out, that is a movie that's also really reliant on the costumes, but Cruella was more insane. I mean, the whole point of Cruella is the character is inventing the most wacky costumes that we've never seen before, and that is true about how I felt watching the movie. Nightmare Alley, it's noir and shit. Like, yeah, get that in there right now. French Dispatch definitely would be deserved for that movie.
Dune, I don't know how to describe these costumes, but that seems like that will happen.
Yeah, everyone's wearing like big raggedy cloaks and shit, and there's a lot of costuming in Dune.
West Side Story, I feel like, is pretty likely for a nomination here too.
I agree, but look at the top 5.
I know. Tragedy of Macbeth. I mean, there's going to be like 5 characters in that movie.
Maybe I'll put Soggy Bottom above it because Mark Bridges is doing that again, and he even got nominated for Inherent Vice. And it is a Hollywood movie in the 70s.
Yeah, that could be, that's like an easy top 5.
You know, the top 7 is an easy top 5 in my opinion.
Yeah.
Last Night in Soho is also another movie that is about fashion. Original score, Dune leaps to the number 1 spot. After hearing this, you know, there are 2 tracks available on Spotify you can listen.
He's showing you that he's insane. Like, he's a madman, and everything he does is different, and it's like pushing, you know, a new sound into the mainstream. Like, all the stuff that we're hearing in the score, I'm like, yeah, now we're going to get this imitated in every trailer for the next 10 years. This is fantastic stuff. The score sounds like beautiful. How does this not win? You are doing so much.
Hans Zimmer hasn't won since The Lion King, and that's his only Oscar so far.
Hans Zimmer is responsible for some of the most like recognized pieces of classical music this century.
But if somebody else can take it from him, I mean, maybe it's Johnny Greenwood. I think we all know that he's overdue, and I'm excited that he might get another nomination with Power of the Dog. I can't wait to hear that movie. Then we have double Alexander Desplat movies, and these both seem like no-brainers. I mean, he won for The Shape of Water, he won for Budapest Hotel, and then Carter Burwell for Tragedy of Macbeth. I have a number 5.
Could be interesting.
Like 6 is Spencer. Mika Levi's doing this. She did Jackie, was nominated for it. Absolutely amazing, experimental, boundary-pushing composer. And Last Night in Soho, Stephen Price. I think what we're hearing in the trailer is the original music, and it sounds good. It might have a lot of soundtrack, though, which could keep it from getting a score nomination.
That's true.
Dan Romer's score for Luca is really good. I'd be happy to see it get nominated. I'm not sure that it'll have that kind of buzz by the end of the year, but...
Best part about the movie, but won't get nominated.
I put Annette on here because it should probably happen if they're willing to pay attention to that. And The Green Knight, just for me.
That there's not a chance that The Green Knight gets nominated for score.
Just
much as I love it, and much as that is probably my favorite score this year so far.
Makeup, House of Gucci, number 1, because of what they did to Jared Leto.
Yeah.
It is quite impressive. You can scream about it all you want. You can cry about it, but it is impressive.
And then Eyes of Tammy Faye, those are not acorns, folks. That is makeup, and that will be nominated.
Her cheeks don't change with the way that her mouth moves, so she's like, and then like the cheeks are just always like, like they're like stiff. And it might look weird a little bit. It might look a little weird.
It's going to be fine.
It's still going to get nominated for sure, though.
Cruella for makeup, I guess, because more hairstyling, right?
Dune, there's bald, weird-looking people and villains that look very pale and stuff like that. I know
they go for the transformation makeup more than anything else, so... That's Spencer, being Ricardo's, transforming their lead actresses, especially Spencer. That looks pretty convincing.
Yeah, the nose work is apparent to me.
The nose work.
Visual effects, Dune is winning. Can I say that like confidently right now? Like how? Because we know what's coming out this year. And Dune's winning from the trailer alone. Like, it's just going to happen.
Yeah, I just don't think there's another visual effects spectacle this year.
Eternals is probably going to be a big visual effects spectacle, but, you know, we've seen Marvel visual effects before. Like, it's not going to be that groundbreaking.
Yeah, there also seems to be less visual effects in Eternals than a normal Marvel movie. Godzilla vs. Kong, I mean, that's probably has the most visual effects of any movie we've seen so far this year, so I see that happening. You should put Free Guy in here.
It's at 10.
You should put it higher.
It's a comedy.
I don't care.
I mean, the fact that it's on here, you know, it should be thankful. I put Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings as the Marvel film that's not Eternals to get on here. Black Widow doesn't seem like it has too much going on with visual. Well, it's got some scenes. I mean, I'm sure it has a big fucking CGI third act.
Shang-Chi's like one of the only Marvel films that from the trailer I'm like, okay, maybe I'd see that.
Should I have The Green Knight on at number 5? Because usually they nominate something that has like a cool sparing use of visual effects, and The Green Knight definitely has that.
Yeah, but I don't know about that one.
Sound, we got Dune at number 1. It's pretty obvious, right? It's pretty obvious.
I mean, you put it at 1 for editing and for score, you may as well.
No Time to Die, pretty reliably that's going to get nominated, I think. West Side Story, just, you know, as a musical getting nominated, I think why not? Nightmare Alley, it's just got a lot going on, I think.
It's more of a noir, though, so I'm not actually convinced about that one. Shape of Water was a fantasy, and it went...
The movies that get like 10 nominations just get sound, like Joker, Irishman. You're going to like that I have Last Night in Soho in here.
Because it's going... Yeah, but you have it too low.
There's a question. Are you kidding me?
There's no question.
The question is if it's a contender at all.
No, we're done. That's getting nominated for sound.
The Last Duel, Ching Ching, I guess. Quiet Place Part 2. I don't think it's as novel as the first one, although a lot of people probably think that this is getting nominated. I'm going to go ahead and predict that it doesn't happen yet. That is true. There's more monster noises. Now we're into the segregated categories. We got documentary feature. Flea is number 1. If Flea wins any of its categories, I think this is the one. Because what else would win?
Summer of Soul, though, is excellent. I mean, that could maybe win, and that did pretty well at the box office.
It's also a little bit weird that it's like a concert film. Sparks Brothers, I also have on here. Edgar Wright is doing this one, so he can just double campaign his own movies. And the Sparks Brothers did Annette. So they're on the radar in a couple ways as well. I think that's a pretty high profile one. Also, everything on this top 5 is from Sundance. I don't actually expect that to happen, but like, what do you want me to do? This is just, I mean, I don't know. Rita Moreno documentary and the Sesame Street documentary, pretty good reviews as well. Sabaya is about a group of people who are trying to save captives of ISIS. And in the same breath is a COVID-19 documentary. International feature, Worst Person in the World, I think could take this. I mean, maybe The Hand of God will come out of nowhere and, you know, Netflix is behind that one. But Worst Person in the World, I think, you know, Joachim Trier does have a decent body of work behind him, and it's very likable. A Hero, I mean, is Ferrari gonna win again? Again? It's possible. It's possible. But we do have other films that we can spread the love to. Flea and Madres Paralelas. I mean, that's a tight top 5. It never goes this way, though, does it? It never goes this way. Titan. France isn't going to submit it. They're just not going to. It always happens with them. They always go for something that they perceive as being safer. And then I put in a few more international contenders that maybe have a shot at being submitted. Animated feature, Encanto #1. It's a Disney princess musical, and it's an original one. The trailer looked pretty good. Luca is #2. I originally thought maybe Luca was snubbable, like The Good Dinosaur or Finding Dory or something, but Luca is very well liked.
It's a 4.0 really on Letterboxd, which is like stunning to me. Like, to me, this is just such a like average movie that I can't understand that. But I know a lot of you like love Luca, so you can have it. Also, like, everybody saw this movie. This is I think this might be the highest grossing streaming film so far this year. And then Flea, you know, going for the royal triple. Or I would like this one to win. Can we make Flea win, please? That's not going to happen. It's not the populist pick here. But I want it to. And then Mitchell vs. the Machines is on the edge. It's on the edge, and it really shouldn't be because it came out so early. However, it did do very well for them on Netflix. Like, it did well. And then there's Belle, which I saw at Cannes. It's the director of Mirai. Maybe now that that director has been let into the club of the Academy, they'll keep an eye out on his films, and Belle is very good, and I would not mind seeing that nominated at all. Whereas Anne Frank is just like weirdly TV movie-ish. Like, I don't know how to say it. It's like a PBS special. It's like trying to educate and like explain things to you, whereas the promise of Anne Frank was like, oh my god, it's going to be like this really dark animated film. It was just weird what that was. I was like kind of surprised. I was like, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be, and not in a good way, especially after a Cannes premiere. Yeah. It being like a children's movie. It's like meant to educate kids on Anne Frank, and it's very exposition, just tells you what you should think about everything, and very, very like obvious writing. Ryan the Last Dragon could suffer from being an early release and also may be drowned out by a different Disney princess movie, but it's not impossible that that one could still happen, and it was very, very acclaimed. Charlotte is next. This is going to TIFF. This is about an artist in Germany who's Jewish in the 40s, in the early 40s. It also has a very stacked voice cast doing the English dub. So this is like the movie that Anne Frank promised to be, but was not. That may very well be, actually. Then we got Ron's Gone Wrong. This could be a fun one. And Vivo, which is getting some good reviews. I think it could get nominated. You know, Lin-Manuel Miranda's behind that. Perhaps we can't underestimate. But seeing how stacked it is this year, and seeing that Vivo is getting like, you know, in the 60s on Metacritic, low 60s, I wouldn't be surprised if the buzz faded a little bit for these other movies to come up. And those are our Oscar predictions for August 2021. In all the categories, almost. We hope you are excited for the Oscars and hope you're excited for the movies. I guess we'll probably wait till after TIFF to do the next one, because we're going to want to do it, but then it's going to be time for TIFF. It's coming around the corner closer than you think. We will be going to TIFF. We'll be eating up all the movies, all the awards contenders. Hopefully we'll deliver reports on every movie back to you. Thank you for watching to enable us to go to TIFF. Film industry professionals right here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Who Best Picture do you think you will be?